Heyo everybody, what's up? Tom here, back at you with another video, and today it's officially 0.4 waiting room. Like, that's where we are now. It is 0.4 waiting room. It's Druid waiting room, honestly. Everybody's waiting for the Druid. The Druid looks sick. It looks sick. I cannot wait to play it. Well, I'm probably gonna do Titan Bear. That's what calls to me. Slams, Bear, Aftershocks, Volcanic Fissures. Oh, it's a done deal. That's such a fun build. I'm just gonna be leap slamming everywhere. It's gonna be amazing. Just the whole field just erupting into fire. And then I also like the, I want to try the war cry. That turns you into a Balrog. That looks sick. And so all your feet are slams. So you have Aftershocks going, and all your feet are slams. And who knows, maybe you can like do Volcanic Fissures with that as well. Ooh, I want to try it. Oh man, it's gonna be sick-tastic. But the other option is going Wyvern. And then if I went Wyvern, I would think I would maybe go Pathfinder. Because you can go Pathfinder and you get all the movement speed buffs, you get extra skill points. It's just a strong ascendancy. So I think it's stronger than the Druid ascendancy. But right now I'm going to mess around with this shield wall build. I'm like getting into juicing T15s with this. And I'm just trying to actually make it a bit more tanky. And I actually just got a lot more armor. So now I'm at 38,000 armor. I was at 29 before. And so that's obviously going to boost my armor applies to Ellie. So I've got not the hugest amount of armor applies to Ellie, but it is what it is. I don't think I have it on my chest piece. Oh no, I do. I don't have life on my chest piece. That was the annoying thing. So my life pool is still kind of low, but I got a lot more armor. I also got this weapon. And so I was actually in Jorgen's stream last night, and I just typed in the chat and asked him what mods to look for on a weapon. And he told me attack speed and chance to get onslaught on killing a weapon. And so I'm so excited to go try this out. Do I have any maps? Yeah. Let's run this bad boy. Cause yeah, I was like kind of dying before. All right, let's jump in here. But hopefully now I should be a lot more tanky. Oh, I can't hear shit right now. Okay, there it is. I had the volume turned down on my headphones. So yeah, check it out. We're gonna watch this video once I'm like trying to get a break from talking in a bit. For now, I'm just gonna leave the thumbnail up there as a teaser. So okay, here we go. Let's remember how to do the build. Resonating shield. Not really. In fact, I wish the packs were denser. Oh, I need to get more of those pack density tablets. Those make this build feel so much better. Should've just deep slammed up there. So, feeling pretty tanky, not gonna lie. There we go. That's more like what I'm trying to talk about. Level 19. Now, granted, this map is not like insanely juiced or anything, but I think I'm holding up pretty well. After this map, I'm gonna change my war cry to a defensive war cry, because I'm pretty sure I don't get any benefit from this war cry that I'm using. Oh yeah, there's also war cries that you can do with the bear, which is another reason that this build looks pretty good. The bear Titan build, because Titan has Warcry stuff on the tree. Now, you do kind of want to like pick one and like lean into it when it comes to
come get me!
These scaling mechanics, like, because if you think about it, in the warrior tree you have aftershock, aka empowered. You have warcry, which, to be fair, warcry does synergize with empowered because you can warcry to empower and attack. But it's different because like a war cry cooldown is going to be different from a cooldown for you know, it's going to be different from the scaling of empowered attacks, for example. I didn't run this yet. Kind of lost my train of thought there. All that's to say, yeah, Titan Bear probably what I'm gonna go for. I have been enjoying the warrior lately. Like, I've done 2 really fun warrior playthroughs this week. One was Titan Slams. What? Why do I have to wait until fucking at this point in the league to get an Omen of Homogenizing Exaltation here? Are you shitting me? That's the first one of these that I've dropped all league. 3 days before the end of the league. Unfucking believable. That's like the least good feeling I've ever had with a drop like this. It's like you get a mirror on the last day of the league while you're on your league, while you're on your like league start prep for the next league. Imagine that. What do you even do at that point? Do you start playing standard? I guess you just start playing standard. No, I'm in this window right here. So, I guess I should re-roll. Omen of Corruption. Okay, defer that. Confirm. Nothing good here, right? There's no way you could possibly get a good weapon from this thing. I don't even want to bother deferring any of this stuff. It's all pointless. Here, I'll just take these splinters and call it a day. Wait, oh no, because there's another one in the map. I should have not done that. Can't believe I just got an Omen of Homogenizing Exaltation from that.
Come get me!
Those are worth like multiple dibs, right? Where's the last like enemies here? Are you guys what I have to kill?
Fear will best you!
It's not worth it. I'm not sticking around here. Wait, it looks like this is the way.
Your
Okay.
corpse will feed the new tomorrow. Utopia awaits, whether you like it or not. Behold the beginning of tomorrow!
No longer.
Utopia cannot be stopped. You don't stand a chance. My flesh is unimportant.
I shouldn't have been faffing around. I should not have been faffing around there. I should have just been shield walling. I would have bursted him down. But that is still annoying that that one-shot me, even with... However, that to be fair, that's like a big, like, epic move. That's, like, extremely telegraphed, and I was just stupid to miss that, so... I mean... Yeah, literally, other than that, I have not... I don't think I took any damage on that map. Here we've got a empowered boss corrupted map. I want to get pack size buffs. Not rarity. So I'm gonna pull up the trade site here. And we want pack size. Is it in your maps? Yes. Gotta watch out for the number of uses remaining on these. But this one's good. I might as well just get all the ones that are worth 1 chaos. Okay. How giga juiced do I want to go with this though? I'm trying to not die, so I'm not gonna go super giga juiced. Let me just get a decent one. What I want to do is actually use the omen on it. The pack size omen. I don't think I have any. Oh, I do. Perfect. I should do this to a bunch of maps. Please get rid of Chilled Ground. It got rid of Chilled Ground and replaced it with Temporal Chains. Now, I can't spam when I'm using Omen of Chaotic Quantity. I gotta just run this as is. Temporal Chains and all. It's gonna feel like dog doo-doo. I would rather have Chilled Ground than Temporal Chains, honestly. What is this selling for nowadays?
Hey.
Omen of Homogenizing?
Oh, it's you.
Yeah, 82 exalts. So, not crazy. It is 3 divs. I think I'm gonna hold on to that for if I ever want to go back and play standard. Yeah, Ritual has all the best currencies. Holy shit. Here's our map. I think I want to put pack size shit onto it as well. Oh, Delirium. Serious Delirium. And, fuck it. Let's see how it goes. If I die, I die. Alright, so Breach, pack size, amazing. Wait, I should have an irradiated pack size tab. Did I throw it? I got an expedition one. Oh shit, I didn't check how many uses these have. Here we go. So this is like, it's not giga juiced, but it's pretty juiced. Oh, actually, you know what? I want to make one more change. Using Infernal Cry.
Use Fortifying Cry to gain power from nearby enemies and receive the Guard buff, which protects your life. Fortifying Cry also empowers your next few shield attacks to create shockwaves.
This is what I should have been using.
Use Fortifying Cry
the whole time. Can't believe I haven't been using this.
Fortifying Cry to gain power from nearby enemies and receive the Guard buff, which protects your life. Fortifying Cry also empowers your next few shield attacks to create shockwaves. Use Fortifying Cry to gain power from nearby enemies and receive the Guard buff, which protects your life. Fortifying Cry also empowers your next few shield attacks to create shockwaves.
You want to use Heft and Defy together. I just realized that. I got to make sure I'm doing that. I could do Heft and Defy instead of Magnified Area and Brutality. think that's better. Let's see how much more damage it is. Alright, so Rezo shield is at 36.5 right now, with its increased AoE. But how much more damage would I do if I went here? Average damage per use, 17.9, just about 18. $19.6. But I don't think it recognizes that I'm surrounded. Because this doesn't increase damage. I'm just gonna try it and see how it feels. I think this is smart. And it's still saying that brutality is better. Going maximum damage on oh, actually, you know what? No, I want AoE on Resonating Shield. I want AoE on Resonating Shield. I do. So let me try instead of Brutality. Oh my god, it brings the damage down so much, but I'm gonna see how this feels. Because I feel like Heft mixed with Defy makes it... They synergize. They synergize. Maybe I'm just overthinking this here, but let's try it out, see how it feels.
I'm ready.
Okay, I definitely feel the slower. No, I need rapid attacks on it. Still a decent AoE. Okay, I already got temporal chains.
Hello there.
I got temporal changed again. Here. Oh my god. I hate temporal chains. Oh! I have a question for Talkative Try to ask. Talkative Try should ask, why do you like temporal chains and chilled ground? He should ask that. Too late. His interview is tomorrow. Oh my god. This temporal chains. Oh my god, it's over. I'm not temporal changed anymore.
Just try it.
Nice, that was a rare. Attack size is so good with because it helps you proliferate your herald explosions.
You were no warrior. Steel yourself.
Damn it. Boom. Just touch him and he dies. Oh, this guy. Okay.
Out of mana. No mana. Out of mana. Charge! Need mana. Need mana.
Okay. Empowered boss. To be fair, it is one of the easier bosses, but
Spoils of war.
empowered boss, and then we had the corrupted nexus. Very nice. He didn't kill me with his like big attacks though.
No challenge. No mana.
Fucking temporal chains. Damn it. You can't see the ground. How are you supposed to avoid those temporal chains?
You were no one.
There's also an expedition somewhere around here. Did I see the expedition? Yeah, over here. Where's the nearest checkpoint?
Detonation time.
Just
Stay
crash.
safe.
All right, that was sick. I just fucking poison proliferated their ass. Oh, shouldn't have picked that up. Too bad the drops were bad, but it is what it is. We did our empowered boss, Corrupted Nexus. Didn't die. I mean, that was a legit map. Now we've got these cleansed nodes. There's also this over here. But let's do this boss around this cleansed area first. So how many of these ritual things do I have? 8. So I want to get 8 maps here. One, two, 3, 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. Now we are going to go first with Alks. All right. Next. Oh, I really want these to only be 4 things. Wait, does it matter? Yeah, because if it's at 1 and you desecrate it, it's going to go up. don't have any maps like ready to go right now. Looks like I ran everything. Let's just roll however many I can right now. So 7. So we're gonna chaotic quantity first. Are you fucking shitting me? Six out of 7 of them have temporal chains. Wait, shouldn't I just be buying maps on the trade site? These are gonna have 0 retries, these maps. But this is definitely the way to do it. Three exalts for this. Way cheaper, way better. Oh wait, this is a Waystone 14. Oops. Nope, what I need to do is, these need to be tier 15s. We'll bring this back down to 50 and redo our search. What's 8 vol worth on the trade market?
Yes?
Okay, so now we actually have some nice maps. I don't know why I was wasting 8 chaos a pop on these Omen of Chaotic Quantities when I wasn't profit crafting. So stupid. I probably wasted like 2 divine in Omen of Chaotic Quantities over the past few days because I just didn't think of just buying maps. So stupid. Oh well. You know what they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Here, let's put these over here so that they stick out a little bit. These piece of shit maps. Alright, dig site. This is a tough boss that we have here.
I'm ready.
But I'm a pretty tough player character, so we'll see how it goes.
Face me.
So I've never felt this tanky before, and it's because of my armor. My weapon corrupted. No. I should be able to battle perfect battle essence this and get it to +6, right? Or is that because it's a one-hand, it maxes at +5? Weren't expecting that, were ya? I'm gonna check this. See if there's a divine in there. You never know.
Just try it.
Follow that wind. My eyes deceive me.
You there,
Oh.
local. Hungry.
Is there a rogue exile? I heard someone talking. Oh no, that's the expedition. Let's make sure I do the expedition one here. I don't like people peppering me when I'm trying to read. Alright, what do we have? Hexproof, cold damage, chaos damage. We got rarity, quantity. Can I reach that? No. Alright, quantity of logbooks. So we go like that.
What was lost is now mine.
Speak, creature.
Libby Queen 9041. I have no idea how long ago you commented on YouTube, but how you doing, man? You're probably gone by now.
Nice try!
Yeah, look at that. Now we're talking. Now the build's working. Dark Domain.
I do have to do that. On one occasion, I've got my
You were
guest's
like,
name
who the
wrong,
heck is this guy?
and it was a bit of a shame. Although, have you seen that clip of Stephen Bartlett from the Diary of a CEO, where he has, it's the first time he had Dr. K on, and he tells the story that he'd done the research for the wrong guest. So he has this guest on, and you can watch the episode online, and it starts with him going, so, imagine, so suppose someone like knew nothing about you. How would you describe your work to them? And then he does this 2-hour-long interview, which is an
That's
extraordinary.
how you should do every one.
I know, right? But we're not doing that today.
Saves you so much time.
We're not doing that today because I have seen your work.
Okay, great.
Green, and I'm extremely fond of it, and it is all over the place. So many different things.
I do not say no to an idea.
Yeah, and you know,
What about
one of those
Nazism?
ideas that you spoke about recently was aliens.
Huh? You say
Uh-huh.
yes to
And I don't want to
Nazism?
just ask you about aliens, but you did a video before about the Fermi paradox,
Okay, yeah.
and I wanted to ask you something about that.
Okay.
Can we start?
Uh-huh.
What is the Fermi paradox?
So that's just the idea that if you know, I like to start here. If natural selection selects for growth, which is the thing it selects for. So if you know, there will be more of whatever is able to make more of itself if you sort of give pine trees infinite air and soil and sunlight, there will be infinite pine trees. So if that is the case, and we can see technologically how it would be possible for a self-replicating system to move from star to star, which is possible on the order of the age of the universe, that there should be signs of other things like us, whatever you want to define that. And whether that would be like them having gotten here before we happened, and so we never would have happened because they were here and colonizing us in some way, or just signals throughout the galaxy, you know, weird Dyson sphere signals or radio waves or whatever, just things that look not natural, which we've just never seen. We've never found anything that looks definitively not natural. And if something would be selecting for like, there's energy everywhere, then there should be enough stuff to take up all the energy for some kind of self-replicating system. Why aren't they there? Where is it? What's the reason? There has to be a reason, and then there. From there, you can have lots of fun conversations about everybody's different solution for the Fermi paradox, which is a thing I love. I love to ask people this. And some people, like some science communicators, are like, this is a dumb conversation, I'm tired of having it. And I'm like, well, that's not me. I'll have it forever. I think that it says a lot about us as individuals, because it is just guessing.
couldn't tell the move was happening
There
'cause
there are
the
things you can
delirium
do to like
fog.
empirically think about it, but like I think it's a lot of guessing, and it's kind of fun to do the guessing.
Yes, and when you made that video, the thing that jumped out
Fuck.
at me was that you said something. You went on to like talk about the Fermi paradox and aliens, but at the beginning you said something like, "But I'm like a bit of a rare Earthist. Like I think that
Yeah.
Earths are actually quite rare." And I can talk more about that if you want me to.
And I never did.
I want
I
you
should
to.
do that at some point.
Yeah, I'd quite like to know what you mean by that.
I think that if you count up all of the things that are nice about Earth, you end up with them probably not being that common. So of course, like objects, weirdly, I'll start here. Weirdly, Earths are particularly hard to discover.
Yes.
So this is annoying. This is just like the different systems we have for detecting exoplanets. They are really good at detecting larger planets or closer in planets. So, and I can go to the details there, but like that is just a thing that is true about how we find exoplanets. And so finding like medium-sized planets that are kind of far out, you just find fewer of them, not because there are fewer of them, but because the way that we detect planets is worse at detecting.
But why is it? Why can't it detect those?
So the main way that we detect exoplanets is that planetary system has to be perfectly aligned so that the star and the planet passes in front of the star from our vantage. And solar systems, planetary systems are not oriented with any, like in any way.
Right.
So they're all different orientations. So the vast majority of them are oriented in such a way so that planets do not pass in front of the star. And so, but if a star is closer in, you can actually like see it even if it's at a little bit of a tilt. So there, like Mercury might be visible if it's a little bit tilted, but Earth wouldn't be because it would be above from like the perspective of coming straight up out of like this.
Right.
And then larger planets can do other things, like they can make the star wobble. That's how we initially found the first exoplanet. And so like a large close-in exoplanet can create this wobbling. But smaller planets that are further out are just harder to see.
So smaller ones close by pass by the sun from our vantage, so you sort of measure the light.
Yeah, you measure
dimming
the
slightly.
dipping of the light of the star.
And the bigger ones further out, they're not as perfect in their orbit, but they make the star.
I don't know that they do. If they're further out, I don't think that they do make the star wobble, but there's something that makes bigger, like all the Neptunes, easier to detect. I don't know if it's just that they're literally larger. I don't think it is.
Yeah, but then okay,
yeah,
so but
Bill's
that
popping
doesn't
off.
that on its own doesn't mean that Earth-like
look at me
planets
go,
are
Mom.
rare. It just means
No,
about
it means about exotic. So Earth-like planets, I think they're probably not that rare. So like a planet roughly in the size of Earth. I think what's probably pretty rare is to have water, and what's even more rare is to have water and land. Now this doesn't sound doesn't seem impossible, but I think that water and land is actually maybe vital for something like humans happening. So like life had a long time to just be in the water, way longer than life has had to be on the land. And there seems to be something about being on land that like pushes animals in a different direction, which I think is very interesting.
Why
And
do you
there's
think
like
that?
ideas about why. But I think that like chemistry would be very hard to do. Like if you were trying to be a technological species, technology is just harder in the water because it's harder to like create, like instead of having pots of liquids to do chemistry with, you'd have to have pots of gases to do chemistry with, and then you put pots of liquid into those pots and it's just like harder. So I think that's a trickier thing, but it also just seems like all of the smartest animals in the ocean came from the land.
Yeah, don't they sort of come out and then go back in again?
Like all the cetaceans.
Yeah.
They like developed their big brains on land and then took them back into water, which is very interesting. And sorry to octopuses and cephalopods, I know people are mad at me about that immediately, but like they're like a different kind of intelligence, and they've been around for so long, and they didn't do a lot of what cetaceans did.
Do we know why they crawled back into the water again?
I mean, I'm sure that somebody
Maybe
does.
we should do that. I don't know.
Have you done it? It's wonderful.
It's nice, isn't it? I don't feel like, I don't feel as though my brain functioned very well down there for very long, but I suppose evolution takes a long time.
Yes.
There's one animal that started in the water, that came out of the water, went back into the water, and then came back out of the water again, and I can't remember which one it is. I think it's like a tortoise or something.
There's an isopod that has done that too.
Really? That's so...
Which is like those little roly-polies.
It's like they sort of can't make their mind up, which is a good reminder, a helpful reminder that evolution is not like...
It's not going in a direction.
It's not targeted, right? It's just sort of stuff that...
If you can... Anything that helps you make more of yourself, there will be more of that trait.
But there does seem something qualitatively different about human beings, and there's a lot of debate about what it is that makes us so special, because although, we would say that, because it's us, it does feel like we can do some, like, really interesting things, like build skyscrapers and radio and transistors that are the size of, like, how fast your fingernail grows in 3 seconds. I worked that out the other day. a modern transistor, its size, is as wide as your fingernail grows in 3 seconds. Yeah, and like it seems like dolphins can't do that. Maybe they're in the water. Chimpanzees can't do that. What do you think is the defining human quality?
I feel like we skipped over rare earths too fast.
Oh, that might be true. Yeah,
I'll
we
have to make that video where I get into more details there. But one of the things that I think is
We're on rare bipeds now.
very like a underestimated importance to the development of complex life and complex multicellular life and vertebrates and all of this is 4.5 billion years. It's just a long time. So life has probably been on Earth for around 4 billion years. And it has been one continuous unbroken chain of a self-replicator self-replicating. And there have been like blips that were bad. There have been mass extinctions. But like the sun is very stable. We've actually seen this. That's easier to test. The sun is much more stable than the average sun-like star. So that's weird. And then we have this like nice stable orbit, we've got this stable system, but also just the amount of time is a big deal. And there are opportunities for it to have happened for a long time. But like this level of stability for this long, I think might be something quite unusual about Earth. And I think that it might take a really long time for life to go from like a self-replicator at a deep sea vent to, microphones.
When we say rare, we'll go back to it.
Yeah.
When we say rare, what are we talking about? Because
when we're talking about the Fermi paradox, it has to be extremely rare because there are a lot of star systems in the galaxy.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's the same. It's kind of similar to time, where it's easy to say 4.5 billion years.
Yeah.
But that's like a really, really long time.
Yeah, I like to say that it's around a third of the life of the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's like people think of the universe as very old, and it's like but like life has been like a single instance of far from equilibrium chemical self-replication has been going on for a third of the life of the universe, and like it's in you right now. It's happening, and that's how your fingernail grows.
Yeah. Do you that kind of thing? You hear like Neil deGrasse Tyson saying it as a way to like blow your mind and make you sort of filled with awe and wonder about the universe. Does that kind of thought like do that for you? Because for some people it's kind of nihilistic. For some people it's like, whoa, we're like this tiny blip.
I think if you
awesome.
think about the size of the Earth in terms of the universe, that can feel kind of like, well, none of this could possibly matter. But if you think about, like, what if the Earth was a third of the size of the universe? Because we are a third of the time of the universe. What if life was a third of the size of the universe? Because life is a third of the... it's been going for a third of the time of the universe. And that makes me feel like I'm actually part of something very important.
That's interesting. Especially, time is just one of these dimensions, isn't it? And it's an important one. But also, actually, I asked Neil deGrasse Tyson about this, and he said something which I sort of hadn't properly considered, which is like, you can also go down. Like, you can zoom out, but you can also zoom in. And if you consider your size relative to like the smallest possible thing, it's also like unfathomably distant. And it's kind of easier to think of it downwards than upwards. But I would sort of guess that we are probably roughly like slap bang in the middle.
We are
sizes.
like slap bang in the middle. Like it's a very weird thing that it seems like if you look at the sort of the size of the whole universe and then the size of the smallest unit of size, we're kind of right in the middle, which is very strange.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about like unfathomably small, like the Planck length, that's sort of so-called,
like way smaller than an electron.
Isn't I heard someone say, we'll fact check this, or maybe we won't, that like, the Planck length to an atomic nucleus is about the same ratio as like us to an atomic nucleus. Like it's that level of like how small it is, which is kind of insane to think about. But yeah, you can sort of go both ways, and we're sort of slap bang in the middle of spatial extension, taking up a third of the universe on a very peculiar kind of planet that seems really well suited to bring about those conditions. Is that just like that just kind of happened? Is that what do you think? Is there like a philosophical response that you have to such a sort of incredible mystery, or are you just sort of like,
I think that, like, I guess my philosophical response is, like, I think we're probably one of the most interesting things in the universe.
yeah, for sure. You mean you and me?
Yeah, specifically the two of us. Yeah, well, certainly that, you know, that humans are one of the most interesting things in the known universe, definitely. Like, life is the most interesting thing in the known universe. And that, like, goes to how much we're interested in it, like, that we are appropriately interested in it, you know. I think nature documentaries and you know, cancer biologists all together, like, are appropriately interested in, like, this really weird thing that is going on. But yeah, what was the deeper the other philosophical question you were asking there?
I was just wondering, like, you know, some people sort of look at this and they feel really, really excited. Like, cool, I'm part of this big thing.
Yeah.
And some people feel like, oh, right, I'm just one part of this, like, really, really big thing, you know? And I wonder which sort of side of the coin you're on there.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like some big thing that I didn't think was important, one of the sort of, I think that there's, like, nobody who's ever lived that didn't change the world some. Even the people who lived for, like, 2 days, you know. And I think that there's nobody who's ever changed the world by themselves, you know. So, like, we're all a part of this thing, and the way that culture constructs itself is in a lot of ways very reflective of the way that biology constructs itself. So, like, there's like lots of natural selection going on in culture all the time. Like, we don't upload YouTube videos that fail, you know? Like, if we try something out and it works really badly, people don't like it, we don't do it again. So, the, you know, advertisers don't use advertisements that don't work, and so they sort of all settle in on familiar patterns, and they convergently evolve into selling toothpaste with scantily clad hot people. So I think that we are of the living things. There are people who get mad at me about this, but I think that of the living things, we are definitely among the most interesting. And I mean, would someone get mad at me about that? We are definitely among the most interesting.
It's the internet.
Someone will get mad about something I say today. But we all get to participate in it and, like, do our like it's such a weird, like, 8 billion people on a planet all kind of making it work for the most part, obviously not entirely. Doesn't seem like it would work.
Yeah.
And yet it does. And, like, what are the different forces that are making it work? Like, how are we building a society together? How are we building family together? How are we building community together?
Yes.
And that's just, like, the work of all of us. And you know, you wouldn't think that any particular, you know, cyanobacteria mattered, and, like, kind of doesn't. But, like, it's all, like, it's almost wrong to think of any individual cyanobacteria as an individual, in the same way that, like, obviously humans are individuals, but there is this way in which we aren't, in which we are.
Humans actually have bacteria DNA in our DNA. And humans and bacteria both evolved from a common ancestor, believe it or not. Humans and bacteria. And there's bacteria DNA in human DNA. And that's because the way bacteria interact with humans, they insert their DNA into your DNA. Viruses do it too. Yeah, there's a word for that process that I should know, but I forget what it's called. And then you pass it down. Yeah, we evolved together, and there was this. You can see humans and DNA share like 40% DNA. It's crazy. Maybe I made that up, but we have a lot of the same metabolic processes, the same organelles in our cells as there are in a bacteria. Mitochondria, lysosomes, rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, cell walls formed by phospholipid bilayers. It's all there. And it's like actually insane how similar they operate to each other. Now, bacteria do have some bacteria do have a thick, rigid cell wall made of peptidoglycan. Humans don't have anything like that, but it's insane.
Are creating something that is emergent from us, that is much more interesting than any of us individually, much more complex than any of us individually, and I think ultimately more important than any of us individually.
There's a bit of a sort of, our cultural moment is very individualistic, right? It's
It
very
really
sort
is.
of me,
Yeah.
I, and
It's historically unusual how it is right now.
we'll get back to Hank in just a moment, but first, if you've been watching this show for any amount of time now, you'll know that I talk a lot about media bias. Bias is a huge problem, and it's never going to go away, but wouldn't it be great if objectively what today and in spectrum try to spot for whatever, or if you only news even miss to ground, use mic? Yeah, and I wonder if it's historically unusual, therefore, to have this particular like brand of nihilism, that being a part of this grand thing is actually like a bad thing.
Well, we used to have more coherent culture-wide stories.
Mm-hmm.
And like you talk about this, you know this stuff much better than I do.
Well, I mean, one of those big ones is religion, and we talk
Yeah.
about religion a lot. But it's not just religion, right? Like, I think about the reason why America works as a secular experiment is because although, yeah, it was founded in a pretty secular manner, it had, like, stories. You've got Washington and the cherry tree or something, right? And you've got, like, the founding fathers. And I sometimes say, it seems like, when I watch debates from, like, the 70s or 80s, it seems like debates were kind of settled just by figuring out, like, what the founding fathers said. It's like, well, Thomas Jefferson thought this,
Right.
and everyone goes, oh, okay then.
Yeah.
You know? Like they're quoting some
Yeah,
religious
that
figure.
still works on me to some extent.
You think?
A little bit, for me particularly. I'm like, well, in part because you had a bunch of people who were trying to figure out a way to do a thing in a very new way,
Yeah.
and like it did kind of work.
Yeah,
It
right.
has gotten better
Yeah.
over time, which they allowed for. You know, it remains an imperfect system. But they set up a system that was, you know, I look at, you know, New Zealand or something, like a more recent democracy where they had some others to go off of when they planned theirs, and I was like, yeah, there's some things there that are better than our way, but like we didn't have any idea how to do a democracy. It was an entirely new idea, and the amount that the world has changed in those 275
They had
years
democracy
is
in
so
ancient Greece.
huge. What is it now? 200, something like that.
What, since the declaration?
Yeah,
Isn't it like nearly 250?
nearly 250.
I feel
that's
like
where it
people are
is. Yeah,
talking
we're
about-
about to get to 250.
And that'd be
Yeah.
next year, 2026,
Six,
I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
And that amount of change that the system allowed for is kind of remarkable.
Yeah, and in many ways that was sort of how it was designed, I
Yeah.
suppose. But it did. It wasn't like they wrote into the Constitution and the Declaration like these national origin stories, but it kind of had that revolution. Look at the artwork, you know, this sort of Washington
They knew what they
crossing
were
the
doing.
Delaware and
They
stuff.
knew what they were doing in the same way that everybody who's ever created a religion knew what they were doing.
Yeah, right.
You know, like you have to create the myths.
Yeah. And do you think we have a current sort of cultural myth, or is it just like,
We have a really fractured bunch of cultural myths.
yeah, it feels that way. It feels like there's sort of nothing unifying. And so when people talk,
and I'm sure that it's always been fractured. Like nationalism is always going to be more fractured than a religion. Like you don't get to have a pope, and if you do, then that's actually quite bad. Like there are some places that do kind of get to have the pope of nationalism.
Yes.
Call those dictators.
yes,
And it's like it's supposed to be messy.
and like, yeah, there does seem to be something different though about like now versus then. And sometimes people say it's like we've lost our national story or we've lost our religious faith. And I'm like, we've also like developed like telecommunication algorithms and I'm sort of like trying to work out who's right here. It does seem like there's something kind of going on with people not being very happy, and I wonder, do you think that is actually something new? Do you think there is really something different about the world today, or is it like nothing new ever happens?
I think there's something new about the world today. I worry a lot about the hopelessness of what happens to you when you're exposed to every terrible thing in the world, which is just relatively new. And then when I call it, this is such a silly thing, but in my head I call this the sad gap. So there's this period of time between when you find out about a terrible problem and when you find out that people are working on it, and it can be pretty wide. And if you're only ever exposed to the terrible problems and you never see the history of how terrible problems have been taken on in the past, the current crop of people who are doing technology or policy or cultural work to try and address those problems, then all you ever see is the bad news. And one of the like biggest pieces of advice that I have, like feel like I can give is like focus. Like find something that is your biggest concern and go after that. And like there are absolutely some problems in the world that are, I think there's a lot of attention paid to them in part because they are so insoluble, because they are so contentious as well. Like we tend to pay more attention to the ones that people disagree about. And but like to pick and you know, early in my career I picked climate change, and it was a years-long process to go from this is not a solvable problem and just sort of being exposed to more and more reasons why it is hard. And that's almost kind of nice. Like there's something to being exposed to the reasons why a problem is hard that actually creates hope, because the real hopeless thing is thinking this problem is huge and the only reason it exists is evil. Like it is caused by evil, and if only we could all just sort of like do one dumb easy thing, the problem would go away. But like you look at cancer or you look at climate change and you find problems that are actually quite hard to solve. Like there's 8 billion of us and we all need to eat. And we have preferences, and you can't take away the things people have already had. You can't say you don't get a fridge anymore. You can't say you can't fly to see your grandma. Like you have to keep all of these things that we have already added to the world, because if you take them away, people will be very angry. But then you have to create energy in new ways. And like we didn't know how to do that, and now we do. And now like for sure, throughout the entire process, there have been people trying to like desperately stop it from happening because they own the oil that's in the ground, and if they can't get it out and sell it, they can't make that money. So yeah, there have been people trying to stop it, and those people I think are motivated entirely, like largely by greed. They probably think that, you know, they think about the good that they are doing for society as well as their own power and greed.
Yeah.
For sure. Like they think about, well, you like driving your car, you know, you like the gasoline. You like the plastic bottles. But I think that those brakes have been put on in a way that is very unjust and very, you know, like infuriating. But the problem isn't easy. And so that is almost a hopeful thing when you realize, oh, actually there's all these interconnected things that actually make this quite hard. And then there's like a step after that where you're like, and so that problem is being solved in this way. Concrete's being solved in this way. You know, the electric stoves are going to work this way. How are we going to get people off of natural gas in the home? How does a heat pump work? What is the future of advanced geothermal? Like all of this stuff where it's like little, like there isn't a way to fix everything. But once you pay a lot of attention to a problem, and then you actually like don't just become more hopeful, you become useful.
Yeah.
Because you know about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So then how do you cultivate that kind of attitude? I mean, yourself, like I sometimes get asked about this because I don't like social media. I don't think there's anyone on earth who is like, yeah, I feel good about my relationship with social media. It's about right.
I'll say that there have been times in my life when I've loved it.
Yeah.
when I really
What the fuck?
when it's just felt like the world's most exciting playground.
Yeah.
And then it inevitably, like, some new platform comes up and I'm like, I love this. And then 2 or 3 years later, I'm like, actually,
All the bad stuff.
there's turns out it did the same thing as all the other social media platforms.
Yeah.
But yeah,
We're in quite a unique position in that, like, you know, we have people who listen to us and they
Yeah.
follow us, and that can make it all the more
so
fun.
So
and it's
fun.
also
Yeah.
our job, and that's
Get
awesome.
paid. Yeah.
Yeah. But then at the same time, I'm like, I know what this is doing to people's brains, and this is
Yeah.
really horrible, and it's causing, like, you know, depression.
Making
and
society
nihilism and-
much less stable.
So,
Like, it's
like-
not good
Yeah.
for anybody. Well,
What can we do? Are we like the oil conglomerate CEO being like,
yeah.
yeah, it's not great, but, you know, like, you love your car, and, like, but when really we just kind of want to keep our jobs. Like,
Yeah,
what
I made
can
a video
we
about this
do?
because John and I, my brother, and who we create together, he says, are we like cigarettes? Like, are we the cigarettes?
Yeah.
Which is not a great feeling to be asking yourself whether you're cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
But what the video I made about this was talking in terms of food,
Mm-hmm.
which is like information is good,
Mm-hmm.
but just like food is good. Like, nobody's going to disagree with either of those sentences. But if you put systems onto food that are like, how do you compete in the most ultra competitive environment?
Mm-hmm.
How do you make sure that people eat as much of this as possible? How do you you know, get people addicted to this food so that they can't stop eating it? That's bad. And that's like kind of where we are with food a little bit. Like, another thing to remember is that America is one of the few, like right now, well, this is as we're having this conversation,
Yeah.
messy time to say this, but where like food is abundant, and like it's so rare in the history of humanity.
Yeah.
And so that that's a new set of problems to solve.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way, information is now abundant, and also it's competing with other information in this hyper-competitive landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is doing the same kinds of things, where it is making itself hyper-palatable. It is like any trick that anyone can do to get you to stay on a website, they will do it, both on the platform's side and on the creator side. Like, you and I are in collaborations with these algorithms,
Mm-hmm.
and we respond to the signals that they send us as creators.
Yeah.
In terms of what we want to create. So what I think about this long term, I don't know how it goes, but what I think about this long term is that every other media revolution has created a lot of instability and a lot of like just sort of toss the table, you know, like you're just playing a game and then you just flip the board.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels a little like we flipped the board. And in the long term, we're going to look at the internet like we look at books. Like, nobody's like, boy, books were a bad idea. But at the time,
Yeah, some people.
people were like, books were a bad idea.
But-
we need to control these. We need to limit them. We need to make sure that only
Yeah.
the king can decide what gets printed.
That's true. But then, having said that, right, like, the reason people thought books were bad is because, you know, like, say, the Catholic Church are
Yeah.
like, these Protestant books are,
Yeah.
including the Bible, are terrible. You know, don't go reading these things. And then now we're like, oh, we're really glad that happened, because we kind of now agree with a lot of the stuff that was being read. So, like, to see this technological revolution as good, do we all kind of need to start really believing in the kind of the crap, the junk food, the junk
No.
information?
I think you're wrong about whether it's actually like that information was good. So the most popular book for like 150 years was the Malleus Maleficarium, which was like, here's how you identify and kill witches. So like, that was a bad book. And it was really popular. And like, Martin Luther people hated that guy.
Yeah.
He was really reckless.
Yeah.
You know, there were a lot of wars about this stuff. A lot of people died.
Yeah.
And one of the things I try to keep in mind is that Martin Luther was also wrong about God. I mean, from my perspective. Lutherans, you should have tuned out for that bit. Sorry. But like, no, like, the Enlightenment didn't follow immediately from the revolution,
So what did it follow from?
the Reformation. That's the thing that we're going to see. Like, what follows from where we're at right now.
I see.
I think it followed from a lot of time, and like I'm not a historian or an expert on that era, but like
Yeah.
what I mean is that it didn't happen like 20 years later. It happened like hundreds of
Yeah,
years later.
yeah. You said Martin Luther was wrong about God from your perspective. I don't want to do the thing that people like me do, which is like bring you onto my show and ask you about the thing that we talk about, because then we'll get the clip. Hank talks about God. That's not what I'm trying to do.
Well, you're gonna make a thumbnail. Alex. It's
Yeah.
gonna say something.
It's going to have a big picture of
Yeah.
crucifix, and
Yeah.
I just wonder what you mean by that. I don't know if you've really spoken about your views
I
of
mean, a little bit.
God and spirituality and
Yeah.
religion and stuff. Do you have those views? Do you talk about them? Are you willing to talk about them?
Yeah. I mean, I am.
You just said
I'm an
Lutherans are
atheist.
wrong. He
I
is
think that I'm an
forced to
atheist
talk
in the
about it.
way that like when people think about what God is, I think that thing doesn't exist. I don't know about some people like in terms of how the universe started.
Yeah.
Like I don't have an answer to that question, and so like in that way I'm agnostic. So like maybe there was a sort of like a person who set the scene and pushed go.
Yes.
So he's a deist.
But from everything I have seen since then, it all kind of follows. Like it all like, and this is new. Like I think that we haven't for that long had a coherent story of how Earth happened, about how the solar system happened, about how evolution happened.
Yeah.
But it, every time we have sort of thought that maybe it was magic, it turned out to not be. So I don't think that there's like a thing that like fathered a child and that was and that child was able to do miracles.
Miracles.
And,
Yeah.
but that's like and so like there's like an emptiness I think that can create.
What are the comments like on this
But I'm like
video?
I don't.
Because he's been interviewing a lot of chuds lately, and sometimes that can draw those people into your chat, if that's what you do all the time. Who's Brennan Lee Mulligan? That guy. He's a liberal. Okay. Alright, everybody's thinking that he's a great guest. So that's awesome for me. Okay, I have 5 viewers. I love you guys so much. I'm not abandoning you. Please stay for 1 minute while I go get some water and go to the bathroom, and I'll be right back.
don't know how many. Shouldn't say I'm generations into this. My parents raised me as a Christian,
Right.
but like, you know, we are generations into this questioning.
Yeah.
And what I see is like a really powerful technology. Like people are like, do you think God exists? And I'm like, well, I think that God exists in that like he is an extraordinarily powerful force in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, and like what I don't want to say, because it sounds like I'm diminishing it, and I'm not, because like this is what I believe, and what I believe is like human creations that like work together to make something that is, as far as we know, has never been done before. And we're little babies, and we have no idea what we're doing. We weren't following the instruction manual, and yet 8 billion of us are able to like do this together. This is one of the tools that allows us to do that. And so, in the way that I think that there are plenty of illusions that I go by, and you know, some of them are unavoidable illusions. Like I think they're like deep inside of my neurology, like unavoidable illusions. I think that like this is a thing that is real, practically, but it's not real for me. So it's not like, but like I am often jealous. Like I wish that I had some reason to go to a room on Sundays and like hang out with my community.
Yeah. And people have tried to...
No, but the only way to do it is to threaten them with eternal fire.
Well, it is...
Because what other reason would you get out of bed on Sunday for?
I think there is something to be said for the fact that you kind of, in order to actually get that kind of stuff, like the actual, you get out of bed and you go somewhere. You have to actually believe it, right?
It's so powerful. It's so good. Like it has the potential to be, and is often so good.
Yeah.
I don't want to discount that many times when it is not good and when it is harmful to individuals and has been, you know, it's like, does religion help you think we're all in this together? Or does religion help you think God versus your God? You know?
Yeah, and some people have liked to talk about the concept of like practical truths or metaphorical truths that we sort of treat as though they're true, and it makes us all sort of work well together. And I've always thought that only works to some extent. Like a lot of people are kind of culturally religious because they don't really kind of believe it, but they think that if we all did believe it, we'd have a better society. And I think...
By the way, those people are the cringiest, just contradictory, low IQ motherfuckers. Like Tim Pool, for example. Tim Pool does not believe in God. He pretends to believe in God because he thinks it's like cool and edgy. The reason he thinks it's cool and edgy is because when he was a kid, he felt like it was cool and edgy to not believe in God. And he wants to do the new cool and edgy thing, which is obviously the opposite of whatever he thought when he was a kid. And that's the thought process of a lot of these bozos, I think. Or they just use it as a convenient way to push right-wing politics on people.
I'm ready!
When it comes down, you know, to the wire, that doesn't work because it's like the rule that the gun is always loaded, which is a really good rule to have. Like if you own a gun, the gun is always loaded. It's not, but we're going to treat it as though it is because everything works out better that way. But if somebody breaks into your house and you need to go and defend yourself, you're not going to actually pick up the gun that you know is in fact not loaded. So I think like when it really comes down to making those important life decisions, you have to actually believe the thing for it to like properly work.
Well, it can be a gradient. It can be it can do some things and not others.
Yeah, I think.
And there is also like there's things that I know that I believe. I think that I believe biologically. Like I have no choice but to believe, but I completely accept that they may be not true, like free will.
Yeah,
like 100%. If physicists keep telling me that free will probably doesn't exist, I'm like, they're probably right. Like I'm not them, and they know more about this than I do. But like my biology tells me very clearly that free will is real. So like there's something happening in my brain that's like, you are an actor.
Yes.
And almost it wouldn't work if my brain hadn't created, if that's an illusion. It wouldn't be possible to be in the world doing the things that we do without that illusion. So it's like really deep down, and I don't even believe, I believe it the way that I believe the chair is here, right? Like Jordan Peterson. like I believe it in a way where where it like if my life depended on it, I would be like, yeah, no, that's real.
Yeah.
I decided to be here.
Yeah. Which like is a bit involuntary. Like when I ask you to reflect on it, is the chair really here? Well, like maybe.
What Alex is getting at here, that he's sort of talking around but not explicitly saying, is that the idea of someone who doesn't sincerely believe in God, claiming to believe in God, and behaving, quote unquote, as if they believe in God, seems extremely foreign to him. And doesn't make much sense. If you don't believe it, then you're not gonna, get out of bed on Sunday for it. You're not going to behave in that way if your life depends on it.
Yeah, okay, technically this could, but it's like, it's so, you just came in and sat down on it. You must believe it's there because you had a pretty strong level of confidence that you wouldn't just like fall down into the earth. And it's just there. You just have that belief as a result of like stimulations of your sense data. It just kind of happens. And it, in fact, even with something like sense perception, I don't know what you think about this as a science man, but like we think that we've got these sort of just windows into reality, that we've kind of like, we exist sort of up here in our skull, and then our eyes are like big windows and got ears, and we just sort of experience the world as it is, like we're looking out of a window. When it seems pretty plausible to me that actually we're kind of like a bit of a machine that has a bunch of sensors on the outside. And a helpful analogy for this that I like to talk about, that I've borrowed from Bernardo Kastrup, is like being in an aeroplane, flying an airplane with the windows shut. Because you can do it because there are sensors on the outside and it gives you all the information on the dashboard. But the information on the dashboard is not the clouds and the air pressure. And so maybe our sense data is doing a similar kind of thing.
That's basically right. I mean, so they call it the sensorium, and that different animals, different species have different sensorium. And like you and I might have different sensorium. You know, you might hear differently, you might see differently, like and like it seems, interestingly, it seems like across the species, the sensorium is pretty consistent. Like red is probably kind of red to you. It's probably kind of red to me. Like that stuff seems to be roughly the same. But taste and smell are two that definitely can be quite different from person to person. But much bigger than that is like, bats or dolphins. It's stuff that like fish see very differently than we do. And there's lots of sensations like electrical fields that we don't have. There's colors that we can't see that other animals can see. And that just like sort of proves the point that like this that I'm seeing right now is the version of reality. So there's a thing, like I don't think that the things don't exist.
Exactly.
People are like that, some people.
Yeah.
I don't get that. But the things are there and like there's something happening and I'm detecting that and that is allowing me to move around in the world. But this, like what I'm seeing isn't the world. This is the version of the world that I am able to detect. Which is different from other animals.
Yeah. And that came to mind because when you were talking about illusions that you kind of know are illusions but believe in anyway, somebody who's religious might listen to something like that and go like, this isn't an illusion, like this isn't just some made up thing. It's like there are illusions that we can talk about that are so fundamental that they are as sort of true as like the chair that I'm looking at right now. So like to say something is an illusion isn't to say that there isn't something real, something that causes it, and that it serves an important purpose, and that it's like there really is something going on, that somehow our interaction with it or our description with it isn't the thing itself. I think theologians agree with that. That like if there is a God who created the universe and exists like timelessly and limitlessly, then as long as you are imagining something, you are like not imagining that thing. because you can't. It's like not what your brain is capable of doing.
Right. Yeah. And like I find this. I find that there are so many more interesting things than that, and that's like one of my big problems with not with the idea of a god, but like with my ability to engage with it, where I'm just like, nah, like it feels a little bit like whatever is mysterious. Or like it's like a morphing definition, which is very like it's unfalsifiable. So it's just sort of like always out there, like a thing. And it does feel a little bit like sort of it's about the philosophy of it. It's about like, can we put words together in such an order such that we've proved that God exists? Which is not, I don't know. That's not.
It also just seems to me like not what it's all about. Like as if I sometimes sort of imagine that you'll get to the pearly gates and God will be there, and it's like, oh, you've been a good person and you've given to charity and you've believed in Christianity and you're a Lutheran. Oh, you don't agree with premise 55 of Ed Faze's 100 premise argument for the existence of God. Oh, no, sorry, it just feels like that's not what it would be about. And so traditionally theologians would look to philosophy as like faith-seeking understanding. It wasn't like the reason you believe or like the grounds for the truth, but just like, oh, well, I know that this thing is true through experience and other stuff, and I just kind of want to understand it. And Thomas Aquinas famously thought all religious language was an analogy. He thought it was literally impossible to speak about God. So God is not powerful, God is not loving, God is not knowledgeable, because these are like human concepts. You can only really say what God is not. But I think there's some degree to which we are, to get the God, God, tick, we've done it. Put that to the side. This whole thing about our interaction with the world is really interesting, right? Because it feels like, I don't know, how do you imagine yourself? Like, who is Hank Green? Is he like a brain in a skull? Is he like a self that imposes on material stuff? Like, what is...
I imagine myself day to day the same way everybody else does. Just like the sort of I think that this is a not real thing, but like I imagine that I have like this continuity of self through my whole life, and that has added up into like this thing, and it's a story that I'm like that on the inside of my head. Like the self is myself as a story that I'm telling to myself about myself. I think that that's mostly what we're doing. And I think that that's the normal way, and that's like the useful way. I don't think that exists. So like, for example, if something happened to me in 4th grade that I do not remember, and if someone told me about it, I would be like, I don't remember that happened. Is that kid still alive? Like, is that self part of a self? I'm on
the verge of actually having
stories
here.
Are very powerful. They're like the basis of so much of what's interesting about humans. So I'm not saying that it's not a good, cool, useful, evolved, like selected for tool.
The self.
The self, yeah. But yeah, I don't think that like even so. As another example, since I went through cancer treatment, I get these flare-ups of, and I have no idea what they are, and I just like feel awful. Like I feel like I get this, like my skin hurts and my knees hurt, and I have fatigue, and I have like very low motivation to do anything. And so if myself is like a collective of abilities and characteristics, when I'm having one of these flare-ups, am I a different self? Because I have different abilities and characteristics when I'm having a flare. I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about. Let me know. Those doctors are confused. And it's gotten much more rare, but like it happened a lot right after I finished chemo and radiation. And I'm like, so like, what? Like if I'm not that, then what? And I just think that all of those things go into how I act in the world and how I behave. I think everything I know, everything I've learned, all the relationships I've had, like all the memories that I have, and all my fears and anxieties that were built by all these experiences I've had. Like all that stuff goes into how I act in any individual moment, and I think that is a thing. But that's not what I think of as myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think of myself as the actor acting now. I think of myself as the story of the whole thing. And like I'm totally comfortable with that not being real, but also being what I am.
Yeah, but it's really annoying how embedded it is into our language, right? Like the way you have to say something like, you know, I don't believe in the self. It's like, okay, wait, hold on, pause for a second.
Well, that's because I think that these things are evolved for a reason. I think that they're tools that we have for a reason. And I'd love to ask you about this question. So I have this problem where I think things like this, like that I know that aren't real, but they are biological. Like they are, like free will is a good example. It's like, I'm feeling this. There's a very good chance that it's an illusion. Like and that like I, you know, if you just sort of like started the initial conditions, I would end up where I am again, and there would never have been a moment where I actually could have changed any of this. But I feel it, and I think that like it seems almost necessary to be a
Functioning
actor
human.
in the world to have free will or to imagine free will.
Yeah.
So I think that like I think that it's both fake and biologically selected for. So like the illusion is biologically selected for, and it's really deep down. So it's not so you know it's real in the way that the chair is.
Yeah.
But there are other things like that I think are also selected for. Maybe not in the same way. You know, well, probably some things that are the same way. But as an example, like superstition or a god or a religion, those things are culturally selected for.
Yeah.
And so if I'm like
Oh my
okay
God,
with
fuck this
accepting
piece
a
of shit,
fiction
man.
of free will and just like saying like, well, my body is meant to feel this, should I also be okay with like accepting the fiction of and like wholly accepting the fiction of a religion or of xenophobia, like another thing that is culturally selected for. So like,
What the
like
fuck?
obviously I don't feel okay about like, you know, of course we're all afraid of outsiders.
Which
That's
way
like a
is it?
thing.
Yeah.
It's like you know, selected for by culture and by probably
Oh my
biological as well.
God.
And so the but like you have to push against that. But I don't feel like I have to push against everything, and so I
Is it
guess
in the middle?
I'm curious what you think about all of that.
I think, yeah. Whether you
Jesus
should or
Christ,
shouldn't
fuck this
is
map.
an impossible question to answer. But it's interesting that sometimes you do and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Right? Like you kind of know that the chair, as you're interacting with it, is a bit of an illusion, but you're willing to kind of say, but that's just how I interact with the chair. As far as I'm concerned, the only world that exists is the world that I perceive. And so if I perceive a world with a chair in it, then like, what does it mean to say that this is real?
Yeah.
If like the only possible way in principle I could ever even interact with it would be through a different way. It would be as if like you were constantly dreaming and you were only ever in a dream and that's like all you experienced.
Yeah.
And someone kind of said to you, hey man, like you know you're in this thing called a dream and like outside of the dream there's that you could be like cool, like interesting man, but like it would make more sense for you to say
it wouldn't be helpful to your consciousness to be like, oh, I guess everything's fake.
exactly, and it would actually make more sense, I think, for you to use the word real to describe what's in this dream, and like fake or other to describe what you never get to experience, right? So, yeah,
Go
okay,
buy a
so
map.
if an illusion like God is like that, then why not? The problem is I don't think it's quite as fundamental. Some people claim it is. Some people are like, you believe in God and you know it deep down in your heart.
Oh yeah, that's got to be wrong because for so many years we didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean,
We had different kinds of gods. We had ancestor gods.
Yeah. It depends what you mean, though, right? Because some people will say, oh, like, what really happened was you started talking about other stuff, but really that was God.
Oh well.
You know, like when you're talking about...
I'd call that presumptuous.
So
I'd say that
they literally call it presuppositionalism. Like when you...
Sorry, I meant presumptuous.
yeah. When you like, you sort of have to... The idea is that you have to sort of presuppose the existence of God before anything like works.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, the thing that's different for me is like there are some illusions which you cannot help but feel. There are some things which it seems literally impossible to switch off, like the freedom thing.
Yeah.
You can't just decide to like realize. I think if you meditate for long enough, you maybe you can start to notice that the thoughts that are arriving in your head, elephant, there it is, isn't it kind of annoying that I've got that power over you? I can just plant that in your brain. Like, yeah, okay, you could probably become aware of that, but you couldn't you can't really switch off that day-to-day feeling. Whereas I think with the religion thing, people kind of can. And again, with the xenophobia thing, people also can. It seems like people can. Yeah. You're always going to have implicit biases and stuff, but people seem to manage to get by, roughly speaking, at least having less of that than like a sort of ancient tribesman might have done. Yeah. Whereas I think with the free will thing, not only is it harder to do that, it might in part be harder to do that because there's just kind of like no reason to. Like for what? Yeah. Oh great, now I'm not free. Like, cool.
How does it serve?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas some people, and of course there's debate about this, but if you're of the school that thinks that religion is like this really helpful thing in the way that xenophobia evolved to be really helpful to tribes, but now isn't helpful anymore, that we actually do have reason to move away from that, and so we should resist that illusion. But why would you do that with free will or the existence of the chair? It sort of doesn't serve the same kind of sort of societal function anymore. But I don't know, why not? It's the same thing sometimes when I talk about ethics and like good and bad, and I say, it's just emotional expression. That's kind of my view, that there is no objective good or bad. And people have sometimes said to me that I just feel really strongly that certain things are bad. Torturing babies for fun is wrong. That's just it's like, yeah, but you can't prove it, and blah, blah, blah. And people have sort of pointed out, I think plausibly, you also can't prove that the external world exists, that the chair exists. You just feel really strongly that you've got these perceptions, and you just feel like that corresponds to a real world. So why not do the same thing with good and bad? It feels like there's good and bad. It feels like there's, a God. Why not just accept it on the same grounds?
I guess because so much of what I base my sort of understanding of the world on is working really hard to eliminate all biases and to interrogate the universe in such a way that it grants you an answer.
Yes, and that is where today's sponsor, Ground News, comes into. We're far too late into the episode for that to be the segue. But this episode is actually sponsored by Ground News, so thank you for that. But yeah, eliminating bias. How?
That's the whole process of science.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
Right.
You got to figure out where bias creeps in and try and get it out. Randomized controlled trials didn't come out of somebody sat down once and was like, "What about a randomized controlled trial? We'll double blind it." And I did it. I created the gold standard of science. It was one step at a time where and really what it was. Here's where it came from. And this is I think the deep at the base revolution of science is that for a lot of human history, ideas have been about having an idea and protecting it. I have this idea. This is how I understand things. You can come at my idea, and I will defend my idea. And that's that's how religion still works. When a creationist has a debate with. And this is why I don't like these debates, is because it's sort of like dragging everything into the argument frame where we're lawyers defending our clients.
Yeah.
When that's what science is it's saying, it's instead of this is the idea, it's this is the idea. And fucking have at it. Yeah. Tear it to pieces. And if you embarrass me, I will be embarrassed. Yeah. If you discover, if you find a way to prove to me that there isn't a way for life to start growing in the broth unless it is exposed to some other already living thing or some seed of a living thing, then I will have to sort of tuck my tail between my legs and admit that you were right. And that's and the way that you do that is you make your methods available. You say, here's how I did it. Or you do it in public. You invite people over to watch the experiment. You have people come and look through the telescope. And the other thing about it is it doesn't happen in a moment. It always feels like it does historically. Galileo looked through the telescope and was like, oh, moons of Jupiter. I guess everything's going revolving around the sun.
Yeah.
It's like he said that and people were like, I think that your telescope's broken. And maybe it was, because it sucked. It wasn't a good telescope.
Yeah.
It was an early one.
Come here.
They did lots of weird stuff. They had like weird artifacts that would get created by the light bouncing around inside of them. So like there was all kinds of opportunity for him to have been wrong.
Yeah, interesting.
And but what it's all about is that process of saying like, I'm going, like, you aren't doing this unless you are telling us how you're getting this information. And from that springs everything. It springs, having a methods section. It springs the entire mathematics of statistics. It's like all of the, tools that we have to try and eliminate all the little ways where we might accidentally fudge the data and make sure we never do.
So, how objective do you think science has become? Like, how much do you think it has achieved? Just generally, like where scientific progress and scientific institutions are at, how much do you think they have achieved the ability to say, yeah, like we are pretty objective in our analyses? Because I sort of, not that long ago, it seemed quite clear. Like when I read about the history of science and I read about, people arguing about whether the universe is eternal or whether it's not.
Yeah.
It seemed like bias was pretty strong. Einstein's famous great blunder, where he sort of adds in this cosmological constant.
Yeah.
Because like, otherwise, the universe had a beginning,
Yeah.
and it was expanding or whatever.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and then it turns out it's expanding, and he goes, oh, like, my bad. And it was just because of like a philosophical assumption.
Right.
I don't think people look at today, the stock image of a person in a lab coat with a test tube and think, yeah, that is the paradigm of objectivity. But are we going to look back on this and think, gosh, we are like, we were so biased?
When it comes to these big things, that's what we tend to think of as science. There are probably going to be, cases here and there. And like we do know that there are publication problems. Like whenever you set up a system of incentives that shapes things, like it's hard to publish a null result, and so those papers don't get published. And so, if you do a meta-analysis, you never get the papers with the null result because they didn't get published or you can't find them. So like there are things like that, but they're known, and they're like scientists are trying to figure out and go after them. There's also people who will lie. Like there's fraud in science sometimes, where people and they're like forensic investigators who are working to uncover labs that are publishing fudged data.
Yeah.
And pictures that are photoshopped, and it's like that's a thing that happens.
What's the motivation for scientists who lie about data?
Publishing, getting the publishing, get more papers published, which helps you get better jobs and helps you get grants come along with that, and you get paid partially through the grants.
Can I want to ask you a slightly broader question.
But before we get to that, I will say there's a lot, like most of what science is very incremental.
Yeah.
And that stuff there's just like lots of boring, everyday good science being done. And we are learning a ton about the universe through that work.
Yeah. Well, the question I was going to ask is, it's sort of sounds naive, but the basic questions are sometimes the best ones. What is science? And I don't mean that in a sort of like, you're teaching a classroom of kids for the first time. Science is how we found it. I mean, what is science? What are we doing? Like, what counts as science?
I think that, like, as I have tried to interrogate that question for myself, because I ended up with this wonderful job that I have.
Yeah.
I think that it really is. It's the act of saying, this is what I think. I've observed the universe. I've tried to ask the universe a question in this way, and I think this was a good way. So like that's number one. At the root, that probably is science. So science is asking the universe a question in a way that it might answer. And then what we think of as science. So like that's like babies do that.
Yeah.
Every human throughout all of humanity like Neanderthals did that. But there are probably non-humans on Earth right now doing it. But what we think of as science is doing that in such a way where you say, tear this to pieces.
Yes. Yeah. For the record, a few times when you've said, like, science doesn't do this, it does this. You've been open. For those listening, you've sort of been opening your hand like a flower, and it's sort of like giving something to the world to be attacked. I mean, so much of science is about falsifying a view rather than proving it. It's like, here's my theory, and now we're going to try to prove it false.
Yeah.
And if we can't,
Yeah.
then we've got good reason to believe it.
And then a lot of what people think of as science is scientific consensus. So it's the stuff that has been interrogated like for decades, and over that time it has been so good at explaining the phenomena we see that everybody's sort of agreeing on it. And you know, I've been lucky enough to live in a time where I got to see that happen a few times.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was a kid, there was no consensus around there being a meteorite that killed the dinosaurs or a comet or whatever it was. And now that's a thing. Like there's just consensus around that. We have all kinds of data that confirms that, and it explains all kinds of things that we see.
Okay, just as a footnote here, at the moment, is there something that there is like a wacky, like wild, no consensus thing that you really just wish we could figure out, like something kind of specific?
Oh, I don't know.
That you just like, I want us to work out if that is how that happens.
Nothing's coming to mind immediately.
For me, it's probably some like brain science thing.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to find like consciousness in there somewhere.
That would be good. That would be to find consciousness in someone else's brain. I mean, that would be really cool rather than just my own, which I do every day, for better or worse. I'm quite wrapped up in a debate at the moment, by which I mean I ask people about this and they have differing views, and I speak to scientists about what science does in that, I mean, you just said that science explains things. There's a kind of a debate as to whether science actually explains anything at all, or whether it's better to say that science, like, describes things. An example I always give is Isaac Newton, who, like, discovers gravity.
Yeah. And
what does he discover? Well, he just discovers that the same thing that makes objects fall keeps planets in orbit.
Right.
But...
And then later we discover that it's a warping of space-time.
Exactly.
Like, what? But, like, why?
And it's still, like, because people often think, oh, okay, so Newton described gravity and then we improved on it, and now we have... But what actually happened was Isaac Newton discovered this thing that happened, that objects fall and that planets move and that it's the same thing that's... And then he mathematically described it. And then he wrote explicitly in the second edition of the Wikipedia, but I don't know what gravity, like, is.
Yeah.
I don't know why it does that. I just know that this is how it does it. Einstein comes along and comes up with a sort of better way of picturing. It's actually a space-time fabric, and objects sort of bend. But we still don't know, like, why it does that. And some people want to say, well, that's because what science does is it keeps asking until we figure out why. Or is science just getting better and better at, like, describing what's happening and making predictions about the future, but never able to really tell us why stuff happens? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. So natural selection is a good example of an actual mechanism. So if a single-celled organism figures out a new way to metabolize a new kind of food, that food source is abundant, but nobody else can metabolize it, it starts metabolizing it, and then it divides. And now there's 2 that can metabolize this new food. And then there's 4, and then there's 8. Like, this is mechanistic. I'm not telling you like that something is happening. I'm not describing a thing that's happening. I'm telling you how it's happening. This is how life on Earth happened, and that's like a pretty big thing. And you know, 10 generations later, there's like that gene that allowed for that microorganism to digest that new kind of food, is like starting to take over the population of those microbes. You know, 100 or 1,000 generations later, there's no microbe left that doesn't have that gene. And that allows you to respond to the environment. It allows you to, and like the environment is constantly changing because it's made of other self-replicators, and like this is biology, this is ecology, this is all the beautiful, engaging stuff that David Attenborough's going to tell you about. And so the like that is actually, and I think that it can get there, but like now you can start to say like, okay, but they're made of atoms and we don't know what electrons are, but like we know, and in the same way we know about, like, you know, Newtonian mechanics to some extent is like you know,
Amelia.
it's good at describing stuff, but it's also like
Amelia creates. If you're still there, tell me if you play POE2. Anyway, guys, I'm going to either stop for the rest of the night or take a quick break. I'm not exactly sure. Take it easy, everyone. Peace out.